Joining us now, Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. You know, it's almost, I want to say it's staggering, Kellyanne, to hear that, but their defense is, of course they should be doing that. That's the defense of the White House. Of course they should be directing private companies to take on disinformation in defense of democracy. Do we expect any other defense from them?
No, but fortunately, Pete, she's got very little credibility in almost anything. As you point out, she had some Russian title to handle the southern border. As of May 2022, a good 7 months ago, they basically gave up on that. No more root cause day trips to Central America. No more visits. Between she and President Biden, they have visited the border a grand total of one time, and she wasn't even close to the border. He's been to Delaware 174 days of his presidency. He's been to the border 0. And I think her reaction to what's going on with Twitter is typical Kamala. Here's someone who was the Attorney General of the state of California, Tech Central, and she was a United States Senator representing that state, now the Vice President. And she's so reactive. Instead of talking about free forum, instead of talking about what Elon Musk is trying to do, what other tech companies could be doing to make sure that we, the citizenry, don't feel shadow banned, don't feel censored, don't feel like they have this outsized power to control content, especially so close to an election. But I just want to go, as Kamala and KJP would say, I want to circle back for a second. This White House on the border is lying to us every single day. But if you look at the polling, Karine Jean-Pierre is lying to us that the border is closed, it's not open. And the majority of Americans say, in fact, the Biden policies have opened the border. They hold them responsible for the crisis that we have at the southern border. And so not only is she lying, but she's basically saying to more than half of the country, you're either being dishonest or misled. And it is not compassionate to allow 3 million people here. There are 17 states in our nation right now that have a population of less than 3 million. And it's not compassionate to have people sleeping in 30-degree weather, to have 10 and 12-year-olds making that crossing by themselves. I know, because we used to have the briefings in the Trump-Pence White House, what happens to many of those young people. And so what's happening with the fentanyl, everything that you said, it's so incredibly important for people to realize that even in these blue cities like Denver, Gavin Newsom, El Paso's Democratic mayor, even Arizona's governor-elect, they all see Eric Adams, governor of New York City, saying that the migrants are displacing the homeless in New York City. I have to just say, I think that we're going to start seeing a fraying of the partisanship here, and Biden and Harris are going to be on the outs there.
Interesting. That would be actually very interesting if that did occur. Hasn't really happened so far. So far, a lot of that calling out of the administration is to get more money, not necessarily to solve the border crisis, which I know you know as well. Jason, when it comes to Twitter, to hear Kamala Harris, they at least asked about the Twitter files, which the media has mostly not, they've totally ignored. But when her answer was the revealing underbelly of the modern left, which is, yes, that's exactly what we should be doing, censoring people who we don't think are telling our side of the story.
Yeah, she used the word require. She's the vice president of the United States. She would require social media companies to do as she sees fit. First of all, we're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic.
Thank you.
And you know what? She wants her way. They want a one-way street. They want to be able to communicate with the masses without the Republicans or conservatives or any dissenting voice to question their authority. And that's the way they've operated. That's the way the Department of Justice has seen fit. This is why we have 80 FBI agents not working on counterintelligence, not working about China, not worried about Russia, not worried about the slangs in Idaho. No, they're working on making sure that this administration has a full fettered, just an open lane to do what they see fit. And I got to tell you got a president that mumbles, and you got a vice president who's really good at the word salads. You really don't know exactly what they're saying. And then you got a White House spokesperson who goes up there and she just reads and doesn't even actually tell the truth. So it's really hard to decipher.
It sure is. Kellyanne, I'm intrigued on the political side about what you said. Do you anticipate some Democrats who could see the obvious in front of them turning, maybe they have presidential ambitions, truly turning against the White House on this and saying our border is out of control? Do you see that?
Maybe it starts with senators like Kirsten Sinema, maybe even Mark Kelly will find the courage and the moxie to speak up. Of course, people like that, he votes for the 87,000 new IRS agents and doesn't really fund our border agents. But I was really struck by Gavin Newsom. I mean, he's a pretty boy with presidential aspirations, as if the rest of us want to be California. But for him to go to the border and say, if we have this migrant influx indefinitely, it'll, quote, break California. You have, again, Mayor Adams just today saying this is basically not fair to New York residents who already don't have the resources. The Democratic mayor of El Paso to break with a... So I do think you're starting to see it. It won't get covered as much, so thank you for covering it. But it's going to have to start with some of these Democratic senators, maybe some of their presidential ambitions, but some who just want this White House to stop with this entire standard operating procedure of don't believe what you see with your own two eyes. Believe what I, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris say.
There we go. Kellyanne, Jason, thank you so much. Great analysis.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.